If you voluntarily assist an injured person, are you legally obligated to exercise reasonable care in rendering aid? We explore a similar question in Marsalis versus LaSalle. Shelby LaSalle lived on one side of a building and operated a grocery store on the other. As James Marsalis and his wife visited LaSalle's store one day, LaSalle's pet cat attacked Mrs. Marsalis. Mr. Marsalis claimed that LaSalle promised to keep the cat locked up for 14 days to ensure it didn't have rabies. Several days after the attack, however, the cat escaped as the LaSalles were leaving their home. The cat ultimately returned a month later, exhibiting no signs of rabies. Because the cat escaped so soon after the attack, however, Mrs. Marsalis had to receive a course of rabies vaccinations. Dr. Homer Kirgis, the Marsalises' neighbor, administered the vaccinations. Mrs. Marsalis allegedly suffered adverse reactions and was subsequently hospitalized. The Marsalises sued LaSalle to recover for Mrs. Marsalis' injuries and medical expenses. The evidence adduced before the trial court established that LaSalle's cat had never attacked anyone before it injured Mrs. Marsalis. LaSalle denied that he'd ever discussed quarantining the cat with Mr. Marsalis. LaSalle's wife, however, testified that LaSalle told her that he'd agreed to keep the cat under observation. Although Dr. Kirgis testified at trial, the Marsalises didn't call any medical providers from the hospital. The trial court found that LaSalle was liable because the Marsalises were customers in LaSalle's store when the attack occurred. The trial court also found that LaSalle was liable because he allowed the cat to escape after promising to keep it under observation. The trial court awarded Mrs. Marsalis $3,000 for her injuries and awarded Mr. Marsalis approximately $350 in medical expenses that he'd paid on his wife's behalf. LaSalle appealed to the Louisiana Court of Appeal.